This is the Paltalk News Network.
The views expressed are solely those of the speaker and not necessarily those of Paltalk.com, AVM Software, or its advertisers.
News Talk is online. News Talk Online is a production of Paltalk.com, the largest multimedia interactive program on the internet with more than 4 million unique users on demand on iTunes and on YouTube. And on my blog, GaryBaumgarten.com, where you're encouraged to post your comments, whether you agree with yours truly or not, no retribution. And thanks to our good friends at CRN Digital Talk Radio. We're syndicated to an additional 12 million households. I am your host, Gary Baumgarten. I welcome you to the show. I tell you what, I just barely got back here from doing an interview. I'm just terribly stressed out, and I don't know what to do. And if I'm off my nut a little bit today, just bear with it, okay? Well, some people do get like that. In fact, a lot of us get stressed out a lot during the holidays. A lot of us are stressed out because, well, come on, the economic situation ain't the best. And even if you haven't taken a reduction in pay, even if you haven't lost your job, the fear that you might lose your job or take a reduction of pay is causing a lot of people stress. And companies are decreasing the number of employees through layoffs, and that means that they're throwing more work at fewer people, and that's raising the stress level. And you know, we got to figure out how to deal with this anyway, whether you're in hard economic times or not, because people are losing their hair or it's turning gray, or in the case of some people like my fine producer Boaz Frankel, they're losing their hair and it's turning gray, both. What can you say about that? Maybe it's genetics. Maybe it's as a result of the stress, because I keep throwing more and more and more work at Boaz, and he's got to learn how to deal with it. Well, he asked me, Boaz did, can you get somebody on the show that can help me deal with the stress that you're throwing your way? And I said, absolutely. This is a cool book, and I know there's a pun in there because the name of the book is Mystic Cool. It's written by Don Joseph Goewey, Goewey. It's pronounced Goewey. He has spent more than 30 years helping people reach their potential. He's worked with war refugees. He's worked with prisoners. He's worked with patients with life-threatening illnesses, and he's worked with business leaders and others in high-stress jobs. If anybody could tell you and me how to deal with the high stress level, I think Don Joseph Goewey is our guy. Mr. Goewey, welcome to News Talk Online on the Paltalk News Network.
Oh, well, thank you very much.
Well, thank you for, oh, man, listen to this. He's got a calming voice. Now I got to just kind of lay back a little bit and get in the zone. Why do we all get so stressed out in our daily lives, Don? Is it just because society is just moving at such a rapid pace and we don't have time to slow down and smell the flowers and drink the coffee?
Well, yeah, it's part of that. We wired for fear. You really can't have, biologically can't have a stress reaction unless some form of fear is present. And in our culture, we're bombarded with fear, with fearful predictions, with all kinds of things going on like that. And we enter the world biologically wired for fear, wired for survival. That's why an infant is so easily startled. And so we come in that way. And then, a difficult childhood, a difficult adolescence can fortify that fear conditioning, and we get wired for stress, and we end up with all the problems, and they are manifold. All the problems that stress causes, we end up getting wired for it. And the good news is, it's come out in the last 10 years in neuroscience, is that if we are wired that way, and 4 in 10 of us have extreme problem with it, another 4 report being 1 or 2 stressors away from joining the extreme group. So most of us are wired that way, and the good news is, from neuroscience, is that you can rewire a brain that's been wired for stress, and you can avoid all of those problems. And not only that, you begin to light up higher brain function that makes you a creative problem solver. Instead of seeing all of the problems that you're ruminating about, you begin to see solutions. Your brain begins to provide those kind of solutions for you, and the emotional positivity to do something with them.
It would seem to me, from after reading your book, that the one thing that a progressive, aware employer would do is to find time during the day to work with, if that means bringing somebody like yourself from the outside, the employees, to teach them how to cope with stress. And I will tell you what it was in your book that made me think this. It would be good for the bottom line of my company, if I owned one, to help my employees deal with stress, because, as you point out, right now today in the United States alone, and what we're talking about is a global issue, it is like a pandemic, really, there are 1 million people who called in sick today because of stress.
Yeah, that's right. That's exactly right. I think in the future, this breakthrough called neuroplasticity, this meaning that if you're wired that way, you can rewire your brain. Rewire your brain to bring more wealth into your life, more success in the business field, more love into your life because of the positive emotions that you begin to kick on when you transcend stress, when your brain transfers control from those primitive areas to the higher brain. You become more positive, more emotionally intelligent, and you're healthier. You create that mind-body connection that is so well established now within medicine that makes you healthy. And you would think that corporations would realize that there's nothing more important that they could do in terms of developing their personnel. And I think in the next 5 years or so, CEOs and senior management people are going to know a whole lot more about neuroscience than they ever imagined that they would. And what they're going to come to realize is that the creative, innovative teamwork that it takes to be competitive in this world really depends on the health of the brain. And we now know how to get people there. If you go by that statistic that 4 in 10 of us are extremely stressed, another 4 are a couple of stressors away from that, you got a team of 10 people, you already got your back against the wall with that kind of configuration. Well, you can reverse that, and I think CEOs are going to get hip to that, and they're going to start moving on that and moving in that direction and defining their competitive edge as being in terms of the health of the brains of their employees.
My favorite anecdote in the book was when you talked about yourself, Don Joseph Goewey, about how when things happen earlier in our lives, it conditions us to some stressful reactions later in life. You had a guy in your life, early in your life, that you just didn't like. He was a jerk, and you were in a position to hire somebody for a job, and the finalists were a woman and a man, and everybody in your office said, "Hey, hire the woman. Hire the man. He's more qualified."